Hello and welcome to my first video of 2025. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the new releases for Infinity and whether or not these are models that you'll be wanting to paint up because they look so nice, or whether they're going to be models you want to field in your armies. First up, we have for the Shindenbutai their expansion pack beta. And in the beta pack, we have a Yamabushi and two Kyojin killers. Let's have a look at the Yamabushi first. So if you have the Sand Trap set, you're more than likely going to own a Yamabushi. Yamabushis can be put into the Shindenbutai and they can also join the KFC. KCF, should I say. They can also join the KCF. Now, the model that you get in the Sand Trap set is a really nice model and is almost like a beautiful display piece. I really like the model and I'm looking forward to getting my copy so that I can paint it up. This particular Yamabushi is a bit of an average model for my tastes. It's just looks like a Shinto priest with a great big bow, which is kind of what the Yamabushi is, but it's just a shame that this model aesthetically pales in comparison to the Yamabushi that you get in the Sand Trap box set. The question will be, though, do you want to field two of them? Well, probably not at the moment. Currently, we don't have the Tanuki teams available at the moment, but when the Tanuki teams come out, they can form a Harris. The Tanuki teams seem to be pretty solid soldiers, bringing some medium infantry that are about 20 points each, I think, and give you a lot of specialist troops, which make for some really good solid button pushers. Now, what you can do is you can put a Yamabushi into their duo or Harris, and the Yamabushi creates a pure fire team with them, which is a really nice thing to have. And it gives them a little bit more of a punch in close combat with the Yamabushi present. However, the Yamabushi, if he does kill anything, will frenzy and then probably break that fire team. But once he's frenzied as well, he has dogged to try and keep him alive, so you can try and make full use of him out of the turn that he's frenzied and just try and charge as many things as possible before he drops down dead, I guess. He may be a useful addition to be putting into a Harris. Now, whether or not you want actually two of them, probably not in the Harris team, but you may want one that is a loner as well. And if he acts as a loner, he does get camouflage with one use as well, which is a little bit of an extra use out of him. But still, two of them, I'm not sure if you're ever going to want two of them. And for me personally, aesthetically, I'm not really too excited about this one, but I think the one that you get in Sand Trap looks absolutely fantastic. So unless you really want to, I don't think you need this guy. This then brings us to the Kyojin killers, and the Kyojin killers, if we have a look at their profile, they're basically the same as a beast hunter. Now, none of the JSA get beast hunters, and they released a Japanese looking beast hunter, which looks really awesome, but cannot be used in any of the JSA factions, which seemed a little bit odd at the time. Now, we have these Kyojin killers, and if we have a look at their profiles, they're almost identical to Beast Hunters. Certainly all of their stats are identical. Most of the special skills are the same as well. The small differences we have are the fact that they have some different loadouts. Not too different, but slightly different. The heavy flamethrower and the Flammen Spear is a little bit different to the regular heavy flamethrower and Panzerfaust or tactical bow combo for the Beast Hunters. You also get the option of a light flamethrower and contender. So slightly different weapon loadouts between the Beast Hunters and the Kyojin killers. But perhaps the biggest difference is that the Kyojin killer gets a +1 burst in close combat, whereas the Beast Hunters do not. However, another difference is that the close combat weapon for the Kyojin killer is a possibility of survival 7 versus the Beast Hunter's possibility survival of 5. So the Beast Hunters definitely hit harder, but the Kyojin killers have a greater chance of actually hitting their target. So if you're looking for a Beast Hunter model for JSA, I think the Kyojin killer is a really solid choice. One of the difficult options, though, is that at least with Beast Hunters in other factions, you have a 9-point model, which you could run, which is very, very cheap in comparison. And of course, with both of these being irregular units and the Kyojin Killers being irregular units, not having that cheap option means that I probably don't want to run more than one of these guys. Aesthetically as well, they're a bit average. This is the first Shindenbutai set, which I'm really not inspired by the designs that much, which is a bit of a shame. So I think what you're best off doing is perhaps getting hold of the Japanese Beast Hunter model and running that as a Kyojin killer if you're looking to have a Kyojin killer in your army. And then you have the Yamabushi from the Sandtrap set. So personally, for me, this set is a kind of an irrelevant set. The other set that we've got, of course, is for the Kestrel Colonial forces. They're getting their beta set as well. And I think this set is actually probably a must-have for KCF players. I really like this set aesthetically and for their profiles. So this is the first time where I'm afraid KCF definitely outplays the Shindenbutai quite a bit here. I feel. I may be wrong, but this is how I feel about it. So we get some really, really cool models in the set. I really like the Magistrate. He looks like a Wild West sheriff. Yeah, I just dig the design. I dig the dynamic pose. I think it's a really fun model to paint. This one looks pretty damn cool. And as a model itself in the army, it seems to be really useful. So you can put out a Magistrate, and personally, I don't see how you would use him just as a Magistrate without any kind of special abilities. The ones that I would be looking at is possibly running them as a chain of command unit or a lieutenant. And I think as a lieutenant, the Magistrate is a really strong choice for the KCF. So as a lieutenant option, you're probably going to be keeping him in the back line to keep him safe. He's able to keep that back line safer with his biometric visor, spotting anything in impersonation. He has counterintelligence as well built in. So even at chain of command level, he's able to use the counterintelligence to reduce the number of reduced orders that the opponent might spend when they're using a command token to knock 2 orders out of your first turn. You're only going to be knocking out 1. Very, very useful, that. And also the fact that as a lieutenant, he gets strategios as well, which means that he can hold back an extra unit, an extra troop from deployment to deploy at the end of deployment after the enemy has deployed their units. So it gives a lot more tactical options for the Kestrel player if they run the Magistrate as their lieutenant. I think it's a solid option as a lieutenant. He's also a specialist operative, so he'll also be able to be a button pusher if you really need him to be. So for me, I feel like if I was running this army, he's almost an auto take for me. And you can run him not too expensive. A lieutenant will cost you 19 points if you just have him with a combi rifle and nanopulsar. You can go with a multi-marksman rifle at 23 points, but because he would be if I was running him as a lieutenant, I don't want to put him in danger. The combi rifle option is just fine for me. A very solid option for the KCF. This then brings us to the Mines Core Jackals. So it also shows us as well that here we're getting a little bit more of the influence of some of the big companies that are behind Pan-O. And Mines Core being one of the big ones from Tag Raid, where they are the big mining company that go out to lots of different worlds and gather up all the Tesium for Pan-O. So the Mines Core Jackals going to this new world, I think it's called Shinju, if I'm not mistaken, are looking for good spots for Tesium mining, and so they're joining the Kestrel Colonial force to, see if they can also get some extra profits for their company. As they're not really officially part of the Pan-O army, they are irregular, a little bit like the Kyojin Killers. However, These guys make for some interesting ARO pieces because you can run one with booty, and so they'll get a random piece of equipment to add to their arsenal when you start the game. But you can also run them with a submachine gun and Panzerfaust or a light rocket launcher. And both of these act as pretty nice ARO pieces that you can just set up, and very, very cheap at 6 points each. You have an irregular order that if you need it, you could possibly spend a command token to turn into regular order for your army. At 6 points, I think this is a very, very worthy option. And if you just need to fill in that last few extra points, this is great. Having a light rocket launcher just sitting in a good ARO position for a 6-point model is really pretty solid. I don't see you having a problem with just putting out 2 of these at a fairly cheap level. If you want to spend a little bit more, you can spend 10 points to give them infiltration so they can actually set up further up in the battlefield. I don't think you're going to go into the opponent's half with them, because with a willpower of 12, they're quite likely going to fail the roll, and then you're not going to have them in a good setup position. But setting up almost halfway up the battlefield, that's going to be really, really useful to have a boarding shotgun or a combi rifle, and the fact that they also have either an EM carbine or a Blitzen also can be a real bother for the opponent, because if you hit them with that Blitzen or the EM carbine, because of that EM ammo, and they have to make 2 saves on it, it can really cause problems isolating a unit. So yeah, I think the Jackals are pretty solid models. And again, I kind of like the design of them. I think they look pretty cool, and I think there'll be lots of fun to paint. I'm not quite sure about the submachine gun girl with the pigeon-toed stance. I would have rather not have a pigeon-toed position. It doesn't seem the ideal way to fire a gun. But I love the design of them with the masks and everything, the cool haircuts, and kind of the slung over shirt around the waist. I think they look really cool. They look really unique. All of the models in this look unique, and I think that this KCF expansion beta pack is, if I was collecting them, I would want this set. It's really awesome. So yeah, that's my take on it. Tell me how I'm wrong down below about all of those, and let me know. We're also getting some repacks for essential sets, and for the JSA, we'll be getting the Doctor and the Engineer, the Tokusetsu Butai. And so we have the Eisei and the Kohei. The Eisei is the Doctor, and the Kohei is the Engineer. Now, this is a really solid set. I actually have this set. I bought it previously before they repacked it. It's the exact same thing. It's just going to be a different box art, I think. The Doctor is a cheap and decent Doctor with a willpower of 13. They're more than likely going to be saving lives rather than killing them. And but the one issue with JSA Doctors, and just Doctors in general in JSA, is that a lot of the line infantry do not have cubes. So what that means is you will not be able to re-roll your Doctor roll if you failed it using a command token. Now, you probably don't want to be spending a command token on saving a line infantry anyway if they're not really worth it. So that's also a thing that you would take into account. But, you know, if you need a Doctor in your army, it's not too bad. It's a pretty good one at only 14 points cost. Now, the Engineers across all factions are becoming more and more important. One, because of the increased options that you have with Engineers. Now you can actually bring them with deployable cover, and most of them also have an option to bring an armed turret. So here is no exception. We can either have a version of the Engineer with a deployable cover, or we can also have an option with a combi rifle armed turret. These are proving to be very, very interesting in the meta at the moment. I haven't been able to try them out myself yet, but I've heard some stories of how people set up with Engineers putting out deployable armed turrets. They're especially good because they're perimeter weapons. So as long as you have line of sight to the position that you're placing them, you can put them anywhere within 8 inches, which is pretty fantastic. And then if you have anything with baggage, you can resupply them and start putting out some more, which is pretty scary. I think this is going to be a kit that you do want to get even if you're not using the doctor, you're going to want the engineer for JSA. And especially with JSA having a lot of cheap heavy infantry units, heavy infantry are very susceptible to hacking, and having an engineer nearby to just remove all of these negative effects on your heavy infantry just in case they get hacked is also a very useful thing to have, especially with the two little remotes that can help run around doing all that fixing for you. So yeah, pretty solid kit, and I do like the models. I've painted them up myself and I think they look really nice. Pan O also get their equivalent as well with the trauma docs and the machinists. These are pretty old sculpts, I think even older than the JSA ones that are being repackaged there. So you can kind of see that these are like some pretty old ones, to be honest. Now, trauma docs, I think they're called trauma docs because they cause so much trauma. With a willpower of 12, they're almost as likely to kill your units as they are to save them. So that's one thing. But at least in Pan O, pretty much everyone has a cube, so you will be able to re-roll that roll if you want to spend a command token. Don't know how useful the trauma doc is going to be honest. And yeah, it's 14 points, still pretty cheap, but at willpower 12, you really start to feel like it's a bit of a coin flip on whether you're going to be saving people's lives or just preventing the enemy from getting coup de grace points. The machinists, of course, now this is actually quite interesting. The machinists in the Kestrel Colonial force, we get an extra option for the machinist, especially for the Kestrel army. And that is giving them mimetism -3 and terrain desert. And that just basically comes at 2 points more than their original cost. And the fact that you can bring an armed turret mimetism or just a regular machinist with mimetism is pretty awesome. It just makes them that much more survivable. And especially if you're running a lot of heavy infantry and you want to keep them safe, you need that machinist to keep up with them or perhaps get into some difficult situations. That mimetism gives them an extra edge of survival. So I think that's a pretty solid option. And it kind of reinforces as well how the KCF are the sneaky tactical army of Pan O now. Moving on to some other armies, White Banner are getting a beta expansion set to go with their main action pack that they got quite a while ago. And in this set, we've got the Silver Snakes Yinshi unit, and this one has a multi-marksman rifle. I think this is a pretty solid and interesting troop because this troop is coming with a multi-marksman rifle, so they're going to be good at some pretty long ranges. And most importantly, they have albedo -6. So I feel like these are the units that are going to be digging out the enemy snipers that have MSV. Because suddenly you're flipping the script on an MSV troop. Whereas your mimetism troops are trying to avoid MSV like the plague, and the reason people will bring MSV is to basically nullify a lot of your mimetism that you have. This is the reverse. This will basically be hunting down anything with MSV, because now MSV, rather than getting a bonus against troops that have abilities to dodge and things with mimetism, you are now making it harder for them to hit you with the albedo. And with a multi-marksman rifle, you're going to be looking to take advantage in your activation to get a very beneficial burst against a sniper who's now getting -6 on their to hit rolls, which I think is pretty cool. And anything that has MSV, you're going to be pretty solid going up against it. So I think this has its place there. And I really, really like that kind of style of unit. I think it's very, very a neat tool to bring to your Jing White Banner. The other two models are Gudan troops. They can join Zanshi fire teams. That will give the unit some close quarter support with their scary heavy flamethrower template weapon. So it'll give the Zanshi a little bit of meat when they get closed in by things and make them a little bit scary. you're looking at the regular Gudan FTO being 11 points. So they're not really any more expensive than Jiangxi, and they all look really, really nice. A lot of Yu Qing's designs are just absolutely wonderful, and I think they're a lot of fun to paint, so really, really cool. There are options to run them individually, and this will give them one-use camouflage and some forward deployment as well. So you can start kind of placing down some shock mines upfield with them in your active turn as well, and just kind of gets you a little bit forward if you need to. It's a shame that none of them have any kind of button pushing ability with no special skills to be able to do that, but they're pretty useful in that way. They're also war horses as well, so they have that kind of that veteran ability, so they're not going to be broken very easily. Yeah, nice units. They're pretty cool. I like that set. Finally, we're getting to see some essentials action packs. I think these sets are really, really nice sets with some really nice models in that look really, really great, which are great for new players to start getting into Infinity if they didn't want to get the regular starter set because they're not interested in those factions. This is giving them some really great faction options. However, I think there is something being missed by CB here, and there's an opportunity to really help new players get into the game. Maybe they have thought about this and they are doing this and I've just missed it, but I haven't heard anything about it. So I'm going to share what I think right now. If you've followed any kind of like the Warhammer games with 40k and Age of Sigmar, a really clever thing that GW did was they started to set up two types of games. One was called Combat Patrol for 40k, and the other was Spearhead for Age of Sigmar. And what that is where you can go to whichever army faction you like. There'll be a box set, like a Spearhead box set or a Combat Patrol box set. And you would just buy that box set and it gives you a little army. And within that set, you also get all of the rules you need to basically run that little army that you've got. And it allows for very, very easy pickup games for new players to not have to think about actually creating an army list. And they'll just bring that particular Combat Patrol or particular Spearhead and then just play a game with them against another opponent. It would be nice to have almost a whole thing of like the Essentials Army Pack. And in the Essentials Army Pack, you have all of the information and the profiles, like specifically selected profiles to make for this action pack, that you just bring that sheet and you go and play that game with someone else who has another action pack, and you can just do really quick, easy setups for pickup games. Now, most of them seem to be set between 210 to 250 points. They seem to have models that have, you know, obviously a little bit of the flavor of their army, but none of the sets are set up to be more powerful than others as such. They seem to be pretty balanced. And to be honest, when you're starting out, those kind of points differences aren't going to make that much of a difference for you, but it'll be a fun way to just get in, play a game, and be done. Those are my thoughts on the essential action packs. Otherwise, they're really, really nice packs with some really nice models. But yeah. Oh, I did find a problem though. We have a Dao Ying with a sniper rifle. Now, my understanding is this is supposed to be Yu Qing Vanilla, to get you into Yu Qing Vanilla and play with a vanilla force. So having a Dao Ying with a multi-sniper rifle in a vanilla force is actually not legal at the moment. You'll find that the Dao Ying can only be equipped with a boarding shotgun for vanilla Yu Qing. However, in Invincible Army, they are able to be equipped with multi-sniper rifles. I expect this is probably going to be updated with this pack coming out, but it is kind of a problem when this is a Yu Qing Essentials set, and we already have an Invincible Army action pack out as well. So it could be a little confusing for people, especially if they kind of pick up this and then they pick up a few more models and they want to run it as vanilla Yu Qing. They're not going to be able to use their Dao Ying in vanilla. So a little bit of a problem there, but I'm sure that will be fixed. Maybe just a little oversight. That's about everything I have. I probably rambled way too long there, but I really wanted to share with you all of the new things that are coming out for Infinity. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more in the future. And please tell me down below everything that I got wrong or completely missed out. I'll continue to make videos covering all of the new releases as they come out and my thoughts on what they are like to actually play with. And we'll also be looking at Warcrow stuff as well in the near future. So please stay connected to enjoy that content. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely time wherever you may be and enjoy some Infinity.